I continue to delve into book reviews. This book, 60 Memorable Games, was written by Andrew Soltis. Obviously, everybody in the chess world tried to mimic Fischer that wrote 60 Memorable Games, a book that withstand the analysis of modern computers. So clearly Fischer was a legend. Here we are told the story of Fabiano Caruana. After Fischer disappeared from chess, there was this this movie called In Search of Bobby Fischer, and so of course Fabiano Caruana seemed a possible Bobby Fischer. Why? Because he grew up in Brooklyn, New York. By the way, Fabiano Caruana wasn't born in Italy as some might think. If I remember well, he was born in Miami, Florida, and till today Miami, Florida didn't become part of Italy. Another information that the Italian fans didn't like when talked to them was that Fabiano Caruana didn't speak Italian, and generally that is the kind of thing that makes you Italian, because in Italy they don't really speak English to each other. That's the thing, that you like it or not. It seems they don't like this little thing, but it's a piece of information that is real. In any case, Soltis generally make the books a lesson, giving you a lot of information, historical information about the player, and then in the end of the book, and this is what I really like, there is an index of the endgames, but not only that, there is an index of the middle game themes, and there is obviously an opening index, and of course the index of the opponents and the index of the openings by name. The echo openings that we saw in the previous page is the one used by the informator, right? So clearly the book is very, very thick, as you can see. So a nice book to have in your library, and again, I like the style, the writing style of Grandmaster Soltis. Here is game number 3, which has a little introduction called Second Chances to Sparkle. And here it says, back then I preferred to attack all the time. Fabiano recalled about his adolescent style. I really loved sacrificing pieces to get at the enemy king. I played like that for quite a long time. And then he writes, probably this by Soltis, he was allowed to win that way because his opponents were often poor defenders. Sloppy defense can make any tactician a tal. In this game, he rushed his attack and was granted a second and then a third chance to sparkle. So this is the game Caruana, white, against Adalberto Villavicencio at Andorra la Vella in 2006. The game starts with e4, c5, knight f3, d6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, a6. So this is the Najdorf Sicilian, and here Soltis writes, in Europe Caruana faced opponents who knew more about trendy, sharp openings than Americans. I don't know how he claimed this, because honestly the American Opens are kind of having all the possible openings you can find. Maybe it was true in the 1960s, but today in America, I don't know, and this is 2006, so I don't know, a lot of Soviet player came to live to America, so I don't know. Here it says there were about 3 times as many federated players in Spain than in the United States when he moved in 2004. And this is possible because in Spain, like Italy, they have this chance to rate under the FIDE, but in US it's less expensive to rate the tournaments under the United States Chess Federation, and so that's why you have more federated players. In fact, I don't think I became a federated player up to the moment I went to Italy to play. Before, I just had a United States Chess Federation rating. So he says, but even in his 4 strong Spanish tournaments, he often faced opponents who ran out of memorized books, moves, long before he did. By the way, another thing that was funny is this. I think Caruana never lived in Italy. I think he lived in Hungary, in Switzerland, and in Spain, where I think he bought a house. So probably it was I don't know if it was expensive to live in Italy, or it didn't give him the chances to grow as a player like Spain or Germany. Also, Germany has a lot of tournaments, right? Okay, Bishop G5 is move number 6, and at move number 6 we have a lot of possibilities in the Najdorf, right? E6, F4, and Queen C7. Also here for black there are a lot of possibilities, right? That are Bishop E7, Knight BD7, or Queen B6, that is the poison pawn variation. So after Queen C7, Caruana takes on F6. So it seems his opening preparation is superior compared to the opponent. G takes F6, but here he plays a move that I don't know if it's a very use, Queen E2, because I think generally they play Queen D2 and castle, that is the Rouser variation, or Queen F3, right? Okay, Queen E2. And now there is Knight C6, castle, and Bishop D7. So, what would you play here? Because this is a kind of interesting situation. Many of you probably would play Queen H5. Why? Because it stops black from playing castle, right? Because you can take on F7. But if you play Queen H5, black will not castle. He will play Knight takes D4, Rook takes D4, and Queen C5, attacking the Rook and the Queen on H5. So I hope that you are able to visualize that, because as you can see, if you were in a tournament game, they wouldn't allow you to move the pieces. So Queen H5, Knight takes D4, Rook takes D4, Queen C5. So what is the problem here, you say? Well, or white retreats completely, or if he takes, the taking back brings the game into an endgame. That is quite balanced for black. So that's the reason why Queen H5 at this moment probably is not the best move. So what did Caruana play? Caruana played G3, because as you can see, up to this moment, and we are at move 11, this bishop is out of the game, and because he is not developed, also this rook is out of the game. So G3 is the move to play. And here obviously there is a maneuver probably, bishop h3, starting to put pressure on here, and then f4, f5, right? Okay, so what did black play here? So at this point black played knight takes d4, rook takes d4, and rook c8. This is kind of thematic move in the Sicilian, because you generally start to have pressure and then you push the pawns. Okay, white played bishop h3, and h5 was the black last move, which is a good move. Why? Because it prevents white from going there, and then of course it could attack with h4. Okay, notice that I like the book because there is a diagram every 4-5 moves, and this will give you the chance to improve if one day you reach like 2000, 2100, because one exercise you should do is to read a chess book without the chessboard, and so that's an exercise that you should do. Okay. Okay, as I told you, after bishop h3, finally the file is open, and the rank is open, and white can play rook hd1. So he's trying to attack in the center. Why he's trying to attack in the center? Because, did you notice this? He didn't castle, so the king is stuck in the center, and Caruana is betting that he will be able to break through. And that's why he's putting all his pieces toward the center. So he has made a plan, in this case, not based on a pawn structure, but based on the fact that the enemy left his king in the center. Okay, so h4, and here this is the thing why you read these books or try to study with Sicilian. Why b5 is not the right move. Here it's explained in a long paragraph, okay? And that's why you should read this book, or try to do the analysis by yourself. Black played h4, to which Caruana answered with g4. The author Soltis writes that probably a more mature Caruana would have played bishop g4 and h5, probably starting to put some pressure on here. Okay, g4 obviously is keeping the h file closed, no? While it's probably trying to make a sacrifice of some kind to open the position and make it less strong, because this little bodyguard to the king must be removed to open the position and attack him directly, right? Okay, so after g4, black played a very interesting move, which is queen a5. After which queen e3, and that's why I tell you it's interesting, because you see this attack on c2. Now black plays queen c5. If he had played this queen c5 directly when the queen was here on e2 and was protecting c2, white could have sacrificed on e5, and this is a very beautiful sacrifice you should probably see, and let me show it to you. Okay, so let's see, instead of queen a5, let's see what happens after queen c5 right away. Okay, so the sac is this: e5, f takes e5, f takes e5, and now there is d5. What happens after d5? Try to think for a second, because that's the important part of this position. Here you learn a little difference. If the queen was here, this is a possible checkmate, so you cannot sacrifice and play knight takes d5. Notice also that you cannot move the rook because the queen is hanging. Instead, with the queen here, white plays this, boom. And after this, white wins thanks to this. Here is attacking the queen and attacking this. So what do you do? And notice also this move, and clearly it's a problem, right? So if you go back, let's say, check, you take, oops. And this is why I tell you, Soltis has this kind of style that leaves away always a few moves to show you what really is going on in that position. And so you need to work it out a little by yourself, because it doesn't give you the complete answer. And maybe that's a very good exercise, right? That is making you do, because otherwise if someone feed you all the variation, you will not grow, right? Okay, let me go back to the original position, because otherwise if I make a mistake putting it back with the pawn structure here, all the game is ruined, and the video too. Okay, the position more or less was here when we saw that black played queen a5 instead of a direct queen c5. And now Caruana played this, to which black replies, boom, with this move that you say, oh, it doesn't seem so great. It is. Why? Because now this rook is kind of pinned, because behind there is this that is hanging. Then this knight is kind of stuck, because behind there is a checkmate. So imagine how little position, like the queen on e2 instead of e3, makes a big difference in the game. So Caruana is aware of all these complications, and he needs to answer the question, what do I do now? So try to answer for Caruana, because that could be a good exercise for you. Why a good exercise? Because it's this kind of quiet positions that often a player makes mistakes, right? Instead of the flashy tactics that don't often happen in a real tournament game. Okay, here Caruana played queen d3, that is defending this, and then is piling up on the d file, right? So this guy, they are all attacking there, right? Of course, in the Sicilian, b5 is a kind of move. And here it's a strange thing that I found, because Caruana played this a3. I honestly don't know if it was the best. Why do I say that? Because I think after a3, well, this is the move one would play, and use that as a hook. Instead, the black played strangely this move, bishop c6. I don't know why. Honestly, I don't know why. And now Caruana tried to undermine this structure. How does he do it? With g5. Now g5 is not probably the best move. It seems that the best move was king b1, okay? And here, of course, Grandmaster Soltis give you the reason why. So I urge you to get the book for yourself and find out, or analyze with a computer, because computers generally know why. after this, what do you play? Because this is also an important moment in the game. This is a critical moment in the game. Try to pause the video and find out what would you play if you were white. Caruana played e5. Now, why d takes e5? It's a blunder because rook d8 check, right? And that is the problem. And what if you play this d5? What would you play as white? The winning move, if you play d5, is knight e4. Is still trying to open the line. Okay. And of course you must analyze another thing at this point. What happens if black plays this? In this case you take, he plays rook b8, and there is bishop takes e6, making this entire structure falling down. Why bishop takes e6? Because after the queen can enter here, okay? So that's kind of very interesting. In any case, luckily black played a mistake too. It seems the best move, I don't know if you saw it, the best move for black strangely was bishop g7. Instead he played, why bishop g7? Because give black the chance to escape the center with castle when this thing crumbles in pieces, no? And that's what he should have done. But it's difficult to find, honestly, because look, it's a very strange structure, right? Very strange. So what did black play? He played rook g8. Well, kind of interesting. So what do you play here? Yeah, very interesting. Here there are some interesting analysis by Soltis about possible sacrifice on e6 if he didn't play g8 that could lead to a checkmate. So that's kind of interesting. Now white continue with e takes d6 because obviously there is d7, that is the monster in the room, right? And black immediately put the king in front, thinking, haha, I have a good blocker, right? But unfortunately this king, I don't know if you notice, he went on a white or light squares. The light squares is where this other guy is, right? So what do you think Caruana played? Caruana played f5. So the problem is this square, right? And here is why he played this, because now he plays g4. So let's see what happens. F takes e6, F takes e6, and now you must be very, very careful. Try to find the right move. The right move is not rook takes g4, which would have been a trap. Why rook takes g4 is a trap. Again, I urge you not to move the pieces and visualize in your head. After rook takes g4, rook takes g4, bishop takes g4, what happens? Queen g5, check, and attacking this. So that's a kind of very, very bad trap, right? So you must be very careful about that. Okay, I return back in the position to show one thing. Here after f takes e6, f takes e6, the right move is bishop takes g4, not rook takes g4. So bishop takes g4, queen g5, check, and here king b1. Here I miss in a previous, since I made this video a couple of times because I made some mistakes, I miss this move, bishop g7, my fault. And now I ask you, what would you play if you were white in this position? It seems the right move for white is bishop takes e6. Why? Because after king takes e6 there is d7, and d7 is a great move. The problem obviously is the fact that the king is very exposed, otherwise he could try to take on d4. Instead, what he did, he played rook c7, and then of course white played d8, queen. That's why it's important to have a chess set with two queens at least. Rook takes d8, rook takes d8, and bishop e5. After which white played what? Try to guess the next move played by white. It's kind of very important. You know, it's a little exercise. He played rook d6. If you take, obviously it takes back, and then also this all crumbles. But black tried to play this move, king f7, and then he resigned before Caruana could play queen here, check. So what do you do once the queen is there? How do you protect your pieces? What do you do next? Because the queen there, probably you can defend, right? But again, the king is very, very exposed. It has a problem here. There is a kind of structural problem in a sense. However, I urge you to analyze it by yourself, because that's very, very important. In that year that was played, this was 2006, Caruana family moved to Hungary and found new teachers. He had become one of the world's more than 2,500 international master in December 2005, and was about to join a more selective club. His bright future was recognized in 2006 when he was invited to Russia to play in the 4th edition of a tournament titled Young Stars of the World. I would like to tell you also one thing. Caruana was playing something like 100 tournament games a year. So this is a thing that is kind of very important to understand. In order to improve in chess, you must play a lot of tournament games. If you don't, you will not improve, because practically after every weekend you analyze your games and you improve your opening repertoire and the understanding of what went wrong in the game. Of course, another thing that many don't understand is that you learn often more from the losses than from the win, like this one, right? Because in the win you glorify yourself and say, oh, look how strong I am. But in the loss you try to discover what went wrong. Here Soltis did it for us, because he showed us that there were at least 3 points in which black could have saved the game. And if you take the book you will learn about them. But would you have done that kind of analytical work if this was your game, or you would have just enjoyed to show your friend, oh, look how I won? That's kind of important. So thank you very much for watching, and I wish everyone a good day. Thank you.